Thanks for joining us on What Now. Let's begin in Asia, where the leaders of China, Russia, and North Korea have appeared in public together for the first time in a show of solidarity at a massive military parade in Beijing, as China unveiled a huge arsenal of weapons, including nuclear missiles with global reach. President Xi Jinping said the world is faced with a choice between peace and war. Thousands of soldiers paraded military equipment, demonstrating China's modernization program. On the sidelines, the president of Russia and North Korea's supreme leader, Kim Jong-un, met separately. President Putin praised the North Korean leader for sending soldiers to support Russian troops in his country's war with Ukraine. For this controversial interaction and a show of public diplomatic unity between the Chinese, Russian, and North Korean leaders, global affairs analyst Benga Nifade joins me on the news. Good to have you join us.
Hi, good afternoon.
So the significance of the event, which is the military parade marking 80 years since the country's as China's victory over Japan in World War II, has now been overshadowed by the display of diplomatic unity between President Xi, Putin, and Kim Jong-un. Just what do you think is the optics of this, especially for the U.S.?
Well, I think this event that happened at the Tiananmen Square, which you had quite a few heads of states, Indonesia, China, Russia, Slovakia, for example, which is actually a good statement because Slovakia is a key member of the EU, but at the same time supports the Russian force, if I can say. So, I think the two things here. Number one is the fact that China is trying to tell you that we want to fill the gap which has been left by the United States. There's a gaping hole here, and we want to plug the gap. That's number one. And I think number two is, there's a lot of pomp and parade and images and symbolism. And there is a substance here because if you realize the United States were invited, but it's more about confidence, the global governance, which President Xi Jinping has actually said that this is shifting now. We want China to lead. I think everybody talked about the United States being the police of the world, but China is trying to say, look, and you could tell from the statement he made, if you want war, we are ready for war. We cannot be bullied. China can.
And Benga, if I may come in there, because you talked about China leading, and I'm sure you have followed just from the very summit itself, SCO, to the military parade. President Xi had a constant body language that shows that he clearly knows that he's the senior partner of the team. I mean, he wasn't smiling that much with every other president. He walked around with so much charisma and confidence. Do you think that he's positioning himself as the leader of the New World Order?
Well, I think he's positioning himself more like an alternative world order here. We're not sidelining the United States. We have been able to build and empower ourselves to this point. And that's why, there's a key reason why President Trump has been invited. President Trump hasn't been, he hasn't been out in a long while, and there's been rumors, swirling around social media, but he actually came out for the first time yesterday, and he wasn't actually there, but he sent a message saying, look, we are with you. I wish you well, but do not forget that we fought for your freedom. We spilled our blood for your cause. So I think China is trying to say, look, there's another global positioning here. We still want you. We want to be your partner. We want to be your ally because they want the money from the United States. But at the same time, we've got quite a few global superpowers right here. But China is saying we will not sideline these other guys that we are working with. We will be with them. And there are economic advantages to these things. And I think not just about China, even for Russia as well. Russia can't win this war alone. He made a statement, President Putin called him a friend. The North Korean leader, he came in even with his daughter, Kim Jong-un, and which is a key statement. The train ride took him a day from Pyongyang, right to Tiananmen Square, which was riding at 37 kilometers an hour. But he's trying to make a statement. His chief security had to come in by flight. but he's able to make this sacrifice to someone who he feel that he can trust. Yes, United States is building a different kind of trust with should I say a trust with the arm stretch kind of embrace. But China is saying, look, we're going to bring you into an inner circle. We can form this analytics, form an alternative world. They've got the BRICS economy, which they're building on the side, but nothing is as powerful as the United States. However, they are trying to say, look, we're not afraid. You either be with us or not, But if you want the forceful way, yes, we can bring it to you. We're not afraid. We can build this war alternatively, but we will want to work with you. But let's just understand that there's another sheriff who's in town, and we will work shoulder to shoulder.
And interesting, you mentioned the forceful way, because there have been a lot of very symbolic moments in the last few days, whether it's India attending that summit and normalizing ties with China for the first time in over 7 years, or whether it's Kim Jong-un attending that event. But one of the most symbolic and significant moments now is the display of military might and weapons by China. What does that say about China's military strength? And do you think that Taiwan and the West should be worried?
I think Taiwan is always going to be on the line. They always have to remain worried. Unfortunately or fortunately, the United States is always going to be there for them. Well, for the time being anyway. But also, we've got to take it back to the 1937-45 during the World War II. And of course, when Japan attacked China, or the Japan Sino-Japanese War, if I can say, where China lost, China's estimated lost about 15 to 20 million people. I think number one, China is trying to let you understand, look, this has happened before. We're letting you know that this can never happen again, or it should not repeat itself, regardless of the way the world order is placed. That's just number one. And number two, we get this authoritarianism which has come from the United States and Europe generally. There's nothing wrong with the rest of the world, but looking after their long-term interests. But China is saying, look, we are looking after our long-term interests. We are trying to build our own now. And look at our capabilities. We're going to put some of them on display. And one of the other things you've got to understand is, if you actually take a deeper look into China's arsenal, China now rules the wave. I don't know in terms of competency or capability, but they've got the most sea nuclear beds and drones in the water. So China's got that strength. Lately, you understand, nobody can mess around with us anymore. But at the same time, if anyone's going to bring anything, we will not control the world. We will not command the world. But at the same time, if you want it, we can be there.
They are sort of showing that the country, China, is ready for either peace or war. But in all of this, President Trump has reacted, and I just want to take that comment. He reacted on X. He said, quote, "Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America." What do you make of that reaction? And then do you think that any of this will have implication for the Russia-Ukraine peace talks?
I don't think so at all, because President Putin, he knows what he wants, number one. But Putin as an ally, when President Trump is dealing with Russia, with Russia, I think he's dealing with it with a two-pronged approach. He's looking at Putin as the element, somebody who he has a high regard for, and likewise Xi Jinping. And at the same time, he's looking at the Russian entity. So, which is why President Trump is able to move the goalposts for Putin when it comes to the way this whole thing is being shaped, and in terms of how this war should be resolved. So, would he have much with regards to Russia-Ukraine war is being resolved, or to how it's been resolved? I don't think at all, and that's why you could see Europe are leaning more towards Ukraine, saying, look, let's do it the Ukrainian way. President Trump, on the other hand, is saying, look, whatever Trump wants, or almost, he gets. And at the same time, we will reshape this, even though on the Russian side, even though people tend to think it's balanced, but he sees it the Putin way, and I don't think he's going to have any much to it at all, because there's that high respect for these great leaders as far as Trump is concerned. And I think overall it will more be like a Giorgio instead of a saber rattling on any side at all. But I think you've got three key men here who have respect for each other, and I think overall they'll rather work together. But again, President Trump does not like to be sidelined. He still wants to say, look, I am the boss here. Got to give me some respect. Hence, he was invited, even though he declined.
I mean, one can say that amid all of the symbolism and statements being made, posturing at this at that parade and the summit, that was a very theatrical parade, and no one beats China to it. Thank you so much for your time, as always. Our global affairs analyst, Benga Onifade.
Thanks for having me.